we like to say, like, we do this for the money. No, what we really do it for is the emotional recognition.
Right.
We judge the success on how much the job gets paid, how much it gets out there, how many people see it. But maybe all that is just a substitution for the more painful experience, which is that of somebody not caring.
Love me. Right.
Yeah, love me, right.
This is episode 22 of 1F Jeff.
The number 22 carries an odd mix of logic and mystery. In numerology, it's a master number, the master builder, symbolizing the power to turn vision into form. In culture, it lives on through Catch-22, Joseph Heller's phrase for a maddening no-win dilemma. The Bible ends its New Testament with the 22nd book, Revelation, echoing a sense of completion and destiny. Even in science, titanium, atomic number 22, represents strength and resilience. It's a number that sits perfectly between structure and chaos, solid, paradoxical, and strangely magnetic.
Hello, my friends. I hope you're all thriving. Or if you're not thriving, at least you're comfortable with that and optimistic about the future in some way. My guest today is Nick Weber.
Nicholas Weber is an actor, musician, and writer known for playing C.O.J. Alvarez in Orange is the New Black, with additional roles in Law and Order, Unforgettable, Funny Bunny, and You Mean Everything to Me. He's also one half of the Brooklyn-based rock duo Nick Casey, whose soulful, Americana-infused sound showcases his storytelling through music. Beyond the screen and stage, Weber co-created the Future Forest Pandemic Letters, an ambitious collaborative project blending fiction, illustration, and correspondence into a poetic chronicle of human connection.
The music you're hearing underneath me is a song called Bandages by Nick's band, Nick Casey, from their debut album. And I took most of the vocals out, as much as the AI could, at any rate, so that they wouldn't distract from this intro. But you can and should go listen to all their music on Spotify or Apple Music or whatever platform you use for the music stuff. I'll put a link in the show notes. This song brings me right back to 2009, when Nick and I and some friends made a music video for this song in my apartment in Park Slope, Brooklyn. The video involved dancers from the Mark Morris dance troupe, dry ice, and these old lights that we'd borrowed that made the apartment like so brutally hot. It was already like a hot summer day. And there was like one room with an air conditioner in it. It was my bedroom. So in between takes, like the dancers would go and just sit in my bedroom, which was tiny. It was like basically the size of a bed. That was all that really fit in it. Oh, New York. And it's a very weird video. I'll put a link to that in the show notes too. I have such a vivid memory of that day. Maybe in part because I edited the video, so I spent so much time with the footage. And maybe also because it was kind of a magical day. It was the first music video I'd ever worked on, and we were young and footloose and fancy free and all that. We were just kind of making it up as we went along. And I think it came out well. I'm still proud of that one. And in the years after that first collaboration, Nick and I ended up working together on a lot of creative stuff. We made more music videos, we made short films, we made some promos, we made some weird random experimental stuff. And looking back, like, I'm kind of amazed at how much stuff we made together. It's not like I didn't realize it at the time, but it just seems like, I don't know. We worked together a lot. Nick was always kind of down to do whatever, and I really appreciated that about him. And here we are still making stuff together with this podcast episode, so it continues. I think the last thing I worked on with Nick was my web series Adults that he acted in. And he actually has my favorite line from the entire series in it.
Fuck you, Jeff.
Nailed it. One more time.
Fuck you, Jeff.
There we go. This episode was recorded remotely, as Nick lives in New Jersey and I'm here in Ohio. And there were quite a few technical issues, as you'll hear, which I blame on Riverside, which is the platform we were using to record this episode, and which I have had many issues with in the year or two that I've been using it. Never as many as we had in this episode, though. So, there are some places where the conversation just gets cut off, and the audio quality is sometimes not ideal, so I apologize for that. But don't blame me, and don't blame Nick. Blame Riverside. And Riverside, if you're listening, get your shit together. Also, this episode was recorded earlier this month, I think like 3 weeks ago. So some of the stuff we talk about will be a little bit dated, no matter when you're listening. Like if you're listening to this in 2 years, of course it'll be dated, but it'll be like a trip down memory lane in a way. But if you're listening to this on the last day of October or in the beginning of November of 2025, it'll still seem a little dated, albeit less dated than it would if you're listening to it in 2028 or 2029. If you are listening to it in 2029, how's it going? Do we still have a country? Is Trump still alive? If he is, don't tell me, because I don't want to know. Anyway, in spite of the technical issues, I think I was able to kind of cobble together a coherent and interesting conversation here. Nick and I have been friends for years, and I really enjoy our conversations. I find them to be interesting and unique and engaging, and I hope you will too. I'm sure you will too. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Here's Nick Weber talking about decaf.
How many cups of decaf are you up to these days, Nick?
Probably three or four by the time the day's over.
Wow, you gotta be careful.
Well, it's the acid. You feel it in your stomach. You know, it's like
Sure,
because
sure,
the
yeah.
caffeine. I've been off caffeine since college. It's not a problem.
Yeah, I wouldn't drink coffee if it wasn't for
The caffeine.
The
You
caffeine.
and most people. My wife. It's become a thing
yeah.
around here. Decaf. Like my wife made fun of me for it, and then like she was always charmed by the fact that I would seemingly have forgotten about it, and then get really excited when I'm like, oh, I can have a decaf. You know, like decaf is like like a joint or something, and so but my friends made me some decaf shirts. I've made a thing of it. Yeah.
So, does your wife drink caffeinated coffee?
Yes. She was off it during the pregnancy recently.
Right.
But she's gone back on it. Yeah.
So you have to have 2 pots of coffee going at the house.
She likes espresso.
Oh, all right.
And then
all right.
I was making Americanos out of that for years. And just this year, I've purchased a drip machine.
Wow, it's an exciting time to be alive.
When I was a kid, my parents would have people over. It's always like, you know, the coffee pot's on, the house smells like drip coffee. There's the Entenmann's out,
Right,
all of
right.
that. Like, so there's a nostalgia factor to me and I like having a cup and then going back and being able to pour a second cup that is still hot. You know,
Right.
that to me is
It's like
nice.
that commercial. What was the commercial? Maybe this is dating me, but there was a commercial that was like a cheesy commercial where they would brew the pot of coffee downstairs, some shitty, ground coffee, and then everybody would smell it and be like, "Oh, it's time to wake up. I can smell it. Folgers in your cup or something." Some
Time to-
bullshit
yeah.
like that.
Folgers in your
Yeah, which is a
cup.
god awful coffee, but that's all they had back then,
The best part of waking
Right.
up.
It's
the best part of
waking up.
waking up
And that's amazing, right?
is decaf in your cup.
Do you feel like the decaf wakes you up?
No.
Oh, all right.
It's just it's a soothing, comforting thing. It's like anything. It's like drinking like carbonated water. Does it really hydrate you? Like not as much as flat water does,
I have
but
no
there's still a
idea.
refreshing.
Yeah.
I
I don't really care for the carbonated water, the seltzers.
had the thought years ago when after I had quit smoking that part of the appeal of carbonated water or soda in general, especially when you chug it, is that throat hit.
Mm-hmm.
Where the bubbles sort of like hurt a little bit.
Yeah.
Because when you quit smoking or when you go over to like nicotineless cigarettes,
Yep.
that's the big thing. It's like, well, where's the hit? Like, I want the hit. So I kind of have a theory that people that are addicted to carbonated water, there's a similar sensory thing that there is to smoking. It's like this mildly uncomfortable throat hit.
Yeah, they
you
should
know?
maybe put like nicotine in that, and then they'd have a real, like a winner on their hands.
It's double trouble.
Yeah, lots to think about here. Lots to think about. Anyway, Nicholas Weber, Nick Weber as I call you, thanks for coming onto the podcast. It's good to talk to you again. I was thinking about when I actually met you, and like I do with, many of the guests that are people that I've known in my life. And I think that we actually met on a rooftop in Brooklyn I'm thinking it was 2008 or 2009. I had come up there, of course, with Michael. And yeah, I think might have been the 4th of July, actually.
I was just gonna say, were there fireworks?
Yeah, I think there were. Yeah. And you and Casey came, and then I think we went back to Tisdale's. I don't know if you came, but like ended up watching this Beckett DVD collection that he played all the time for some reason, and getting stoned.
I remember the Beckett on film
Yeah, there was a lot of that.
collection. I don't remember Michael having it, but I remember first discovering it and thinking I too thought it was
No, I thought it
cool.
was good. It was just played quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's, I believe, the first time we met. I can't say for sure, but that's my memory.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And then since then, yeah, it's been a long path. We've made videos together. We've I mean, what else have we done together? I beat you at poker one time.
Well, we did music videos. We've done narrative shorts.
Oh yeah, we've done narrative short. You were in some of my films, yeah, and yeah, we've done a lot of stuff together.
You've edited films of ours.
Yeah,
You've
yeah. Yeah, so done a lot of stuff, and now I don't live in New York anymore, and you have a child.
I have 2 children now.
Oh, do you really?
The second one was born about a month ago.
Oh, I have no idea.
Really?
No, I had no idea. I did not know that your wife was pregnant again.
Yeah, the 2 boys. The older one is now in kindergarten, and the younger one is newly here.
What's the younger one's name?
Thomas.
Thomas, and the other one is
Benjamin.
Tom and Ben. 1 syllable nicknames, just like Nick.
Sarah was not hip on Tommy. Doesn't really love Tommy, but Benjamin was Benby as a kid, and we did sort of like stumbling upon Tomby as a sort of nickname for a little baby Thomas. We thought was fun.
Tomb.
Tomby. Tomby. Yeah.
Oh, Tomby. Oh, I've never heard that before.
Yeah. That's cute, right?
Yeah, it's cute. You know, I don't know if I feel positive or negative about it, but it is cute. Jeff B. I could go with Jeff B, Nick B. Why don't we just all do that? So how does it feel to be a father again?
It's good. I recommend people should do it. It obviously is not as popular these days, this
No.
whole family thing.
No.
But I think speaking for myself, it's been great, you know. It just there's before and there's after having kids. There is no, you know, unless you do it, you don't really understand it. I mean, lots of people say like, "Oh, I have nieces and nephews and stuff." I'm like, "Yeah, you don't get it. Like, it's not the same thing."
Right. I can walk away from the nieces and the nephews, but you have to
Totally.
remain. Yeah.
And it's a responsibility. Like, you are the primary it just it changes everything. I think more people should do it.
Yeah, I don't think that I mean, maybe I'll do it someday. It's just not on the radar at the moment.
It wasn't really on my radar. I kind of felt like I stumbled into it, you know. I obviously they come out of relationships. I mean, that's the biggest thing. Like among the women that I work with at the restaurant, like you know, there's a lot of women in their mid-late 30s that are not in serious relationships, and they're now bemoaning that, you know.
Because they can freeze their eggs, right? That's what everybody's doing now.
Sure. But still, the idea of the promise of it feels most people aren't willing to take that dive unless they're in a relationship. I would imagine. I don't have stats
Right.
on that.
Right. It ain't cheap.
Freezing your eggs doesn't solve the relationship problem.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Is your wife going to get the certificate from Donald Trump? Because I think he's giving certificates and money for people who reproduce.
If there's money, we will for sure take it.
Well, you got to get that certificate. You got to put that on the wall.
How new of a development is this that he's handing out money?
Oh, I
for?
mean, since who knows anymore? Since he's been president, so in the last 6 months. But I know that was a thing.
Yeah, I don't know how much of this stuff is real. Like, the tax on tips thing, all of the no tax on tips. Is this going to happen too?
I don't know. Was that in the
tips?
Big and Beautiful Bill? I thought it was in the Big Beautiful Bill, as he calls it.
I don't follow the details,
Yeah, nobody knows what's happening anymore, except for the fact that we're not making any more pennies. So that's one thing that I can say. Good job, Donald Trump. Tired of the penny? Don't want that shit anymore. Got rid of that. Boom. Bing, bang, boom.
Did you watch Kimmel's comeback monologue?
I watched a little bit of it. Nick, so much of this is just distraction, but, tell me about it.
I thought it was excellent. I thought it was a very humanitarian, very carefully carefully thought. I mean, one of the things that he said that struck me was like, look, I've been doing this for 20 some years. I've done over 4,000 episodes of the, you know what I mean? Like you get
Right.
good at what you repeat. And it was flawless. It was like if you handed that in as a paper in college, you would get an A+, and the teacher would read it in front of the class. Yeah, it was just pitch perfect. Pitch perfect.
I'm sure they had quite a few people going over that over and over and over to make sure it was
Totally.
the exact right thing to say.
And the performance of it too was flawless. You know, like
Sure.
again, it's just he's been doing it for so long. It was like watching the ballerina. You know, just like a really great performance.
It's somewhat ironic, though, that he got his fame from that Man show that he used to be on Comedy Central, which involved women in bikinis jumping up and down on trampolines. Do you remember the show? It was the most, like, I guess, sexist show on TV at the time. It was very leaning into
Strong male
the
gaze. Strong male gaze. on
right,
that
strong
one.
male gaze, and now it's gone the entire other way.
Cable was never a thing in my life. So all of those shows, all those Comedy Central shows, they're very periphery for me.
Right, because of the Christian upbringing. Was that because of that, or was it just
Starting with that, so it wasn't in the home growing up, but then once I got to college, I was so consumed with music and literature that I didn't own a TV until a long time after college.
Huh.
And then my first real dive back into like media, aside from movies, I always loved going to the movies.
sure?
But then when like I came in late to the big HBO heyday. So I like pirated all of those big HBO shows.
Right.
The first ones. Like I think like Rome was maybe coming out when I was doing this. So I watched I binged like not Westworld. What was the other? Deadwood and The
Right.
Sopranos and 6 Feet Under and all of that. And then I started sort of taking in television media a little bit more, but I still don't watch television. You know, it's never been a thing really.
You're like a deliberate watcher as opposed to a passive. Like you're not
Yes.
just going to put it on. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean these days if I'm watching a movie or something, I'm doing it in like probably like 10, 20-minute chunks. Like while I'm eating, I'll watch it and then I got to go and I got to blah blah, you know.
Right. So you did grow up in a pretty like a fundamentalist Christian household. What was it, fundamentalist?
But
or
I
born
think
again?
Born Again gets there. You know what I mean? It's
Born again.
Yeah, it's part of the evangelical born again movement, like going to, like some creationist seminars and, prayer in schools and like, sinner's prayer, accept Jesus into your heart, this kind of language, right?
Yeah.
They were speaking in tongues and slain in the spirit and all that kind of stuff. The Power Team, I don't know if you've heard of the Power Team.
No, I've never.
I couldn't watch pro wrestling, but the Power Team was
The Christian wrestlers.
kind of. Yeah, they would do these feats of strength, like blow up water bottles with their like hot water bottles. They'd like inflate them like balloons, or they'd break out of handcuffs in Jesus' name. Real
Oh,
theatrical,
Right.
steroidy stuff.
But it was all because of Jesus.
It was that was the hook.
Right. Jesus did it all. I wonder if they pre-prepped those bottles to make them easier to blow up.
Say that again. If they pre-prep the water bottles, did I lose you?
Yeah, but it's fine. It was a stupid joke.
They
No, are you still
probably.
there? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Hello?
Hello. Uh-oh.
So, yeah, as I warned you in the intro, this is the first of, I think, 2 or 3 times when the conversation got interrupted by technical issues. That said, I hope you're enjoying the conversation so far, and I hope you continue to enjoy it, in spite of the anticipation you may be feeling about the next time it gets interrupted. All right, moving on.
Okay, good. We're back. Where were we? Oh, I asked about the fundamentalist or the born again Christian childhood. Like, was it school? Did you go to school for like the fundamentalist or born again Christian school?
No, public school.
Oh, that had to be hard for your parents to let that happen.
Yeah, I mean, Christianity, like autism, is a spectrum,
Right. But born again is way on the edge of the spectrum, though. I mean, there's, my mom's a Catholic, quote unquote, but I don't think that she's.
Yeah, I mean, I still struggle with how to navigate all of this. I don't know that it was hard to send us to public schools, if I'm answering that question. I think that, my dad taught at a public school. He taught high school
Huh. That's actually interesting. That like they're able to there was like a putting everything in a little cubby hole, right? You've got to sort things based on, importance, I guess.
I mean, I think everybody does, but the most Christians, I don't think, homeschool their kids. Most people that, I mean, I don't even love this word Christians, is because I don't know exactly what we're referring to. I mean, people have there are different denominations of Christian, which the way that they talk about their quote unquote beliefs will be more or less palatable. Some people that, it goes across the political spectrum. I think like my wife used the term Christian nationalist recently, which I think sort of zeroes in a little bit better on some people that we're talking about.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I feel that like that's like coming from like a Reagan era thing, even probably before that, right? Like there are roots in that. This idea of the Republican
Yeah.
Party co-opting, Christ in order to appeal to a voter base. It's not hard to track.
Sure. I mean, Trump's a whole different game though, because like, how do you?
In what way? In what way is Trump a different game? Let's.
Oh, being facetious. I did hear, though, an explanation of how the Christians, or a lot of them, are justifying it. There's some, I forget the name of the figure in the Bible, perhaps you do, that was kind of like a oafish fool, but who ended up saving Israel or the Jews in some way or another. I had never heard the name. Maybe starts with a C or something. I don't know. But it was interesting. I'm like, oh, of course they found somebody there. They found some biblical character who they can say, oh, well, Christ is a terrible human being and kind of an idiot, but look, he's just like, whatever his name was, Clyde or whatever his name was.
Well, I don't think anybody is calling Christ a terrible human being and an idiot.
I am.
You think Christ is a terrible human being and an idiot? Maybe an
Oh,
idiot.
no, not
but
Christ.
not
I meant Trump. I meant Trump.
Oh, my bad. My
I
bad.
was speaking of
My
Trump.
bad.
Yeah.
Sure, easier to call Trump a terrible human being than Christ, no question.
Right. You've gotta find a way to thread that needle, really.
Yeah, there are multiple sort of conversion stories in the Bible,
Sure. Trump doesn't really follow any of them.
No, I don't believe Trump is genuine in any of his rhetoric.
How do your parents feel about him? Do they feel all right about him?
They vote for him. Yeah, they're on board.
That's a hard one. I just don't.
I know, and there are things that happen in the news and things in like articles that I read, and I'm kind of over the like trying to own or convince them of anything, because I just don't want to get into. I mean, there are many reasons why, and again, without kids, that it probably looks different. I don't know whether you're keeping the first part of our conversation or not.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to if we got it. Yeah.
So yeah, kids change everything. Kids change everything.
I'm sure. I wonder what it'll take for the divide, because I've given up. Like everybody's kind of been like, I've given up trying to talk to my relatives about any of this. I've given up trying to even, because it's kind of useless. We're so divided. There's nobody's going to listen to each other anymore because the internet's, But like, I wonder what it'll take for if anything, to bring this country and to some extent the world back together again. But I think this country is really much more acute in America than in most places at this point. But yeah, you wonder, like a catastrophe of some sort, right? A war.
Sure.
Yeah. So how old were you when you started to question the upbringing that you had been?
I think from the beginning, if I really were tracking it, I think there was always things that felt sort of weird or off, and then as you try to have conversations with people about these things, and you just watch those conversations kind of fall flat because the people that you're talking to, they're not approaching this subject with any sense of curiosity. Instead, they're already on the other side of their conclusions about the subject, and so it takes a real curiosity when approaching religion or theology or mystery at all, is something that gets harder and harder to find, I think, the older you get. And there was also I think a big thing for me with the church was that there wasn't a lot of kids my age, so there wasn't really a community for me there. I was always trying
Right.
to hang out with kids that were older than me, or even hang out with the adults, when it came
Right.
to more fun, sociable activities. So that for me was the big difference between going to school or hanging out with kids on the other side of the block and rollerblading around and things like that versus going to church, was just that
Right.
the demographic looked different,
Right. I wonder if it would have been different had you had a bunch of kids your age who were also born again Christians.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel like the difficulty in having any kind of true religious argument is that there's like a logical piece that a lot of times the faith piece, you can't put the faith piece and the logic piece together in a neat puzzle. It just doesn't jive that way, So when you start having that argument, a lot of people who are born agains have kind of thrown away the logic piece in favor of the faith piece, and so it's just a pointless. It kind of reflects what's going on in the country too.
Yeah, for sure. There's so many places to take this. I think the afterlife for me is a real clear-cut one, where when I'm talking about whatever, if we start talking about what happens after we die, and you're trying to do so in a logical way, like it's just this conversation's over. You've ceased being curious about the subject at hand. Instead, you're just a mouthpiece for whatever ideological nonsense you're spouting. Like that for me is a very clear line,
What if we were to ask the question and I were to say, well, I think that your body stops, functioning and your brain dies and you get put into a hole.
Yeah, that sounds logical. It's hard to argue with that one.
But I also don't think that logic necessarily fits with all there's so many new understandings of science right now that suggest that maybe this isn't the end of what we understand to be.
Well, and logic only goes so far in conversation in and of itself. We're only
Right, that's
partially
true.
logical creatures. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I think we kind of forego the other part of ourselves too often, perhaps, I think at least I do anyway. I think like logic is often my kind of my baseline, but the other stuff, the perhaps the ethereal stuff, the spiritual stuff that kind of is out there, I kind of like push it away because I don't understand it, so I can't engage with it, but it's still out there.
Well, remember when you first got to Ohio? I don't know how long you were in Ohio before. I also just quickly want to comment on this lag is not good for comedy, so I'm just going to try to avoid jokes.
Yeah, I don't know why there's lag. I'm
The
confused
pause
myself.
for the it just doesn't work. But when you got to Ohio and you joined that choir, remember the community choir that you would go to and you would
Right.
sing with people?
The
and,
Harmony Project, yeah.
yeah, so that to you was a very important thing for a while. That filled a need for what happens when people get together,
Mhm.
And community.
Yeah.
In a spiritual way. There's not a whole lot of doctrine to that, but there's a whole lot of sort of embodied activity,
Yeah.
ritual, which is religion, I think, So that was. I don't think you're totally void of it. I think that you're starting a podcast that has a
Right.
rhythm to it, and anything that's repeatable that becomes embodied and works through the seasons in the year and that you're marking things by, it has a religious component.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still in the choir. It's just lost a lot of its funding because of the President of the United States. So,
Oh, nice.
yeah, so that's great. That's great. Great story. So when you went to college, was that when, like, at some point, did you decide to, like, were you pretending to believe, or were you very clearly not believing, or
Yeah, for sure. When I was like in the 6th grade, the pastor left the church that we were at, and that was kind of like, what? Like I didn't understand that. That felt like you were getting abandoned, kind of like, well, why? I don't understand. And then so we looked for new churches, and the new church that we went to was a Foursquare church, and then the building where we were at ended up being condemned, so we were meeting in the auditorium of the junior high where I was also going to school. So there was this interesting overlap between being there working on a play during the week and then on Sunday being
Oh, Jesus Christ, the fucking thing.
And again, yes, this is the second time that the conversation got interrupted. Again, I warned you. I did. And I'm very sorry. I hope it's not taking you out of the thing too much. Maybe it's actually making it a little bit more exciting. I don't know. But yeah, fuck you, Riverside. Fix your goddamn platform.
So where do you stand now with God, or the lack thereof?
What a great question, Jeff.
Well, thanks.
Can I throw it back at you?
Right, just throw it back at me immediately, or without answering,
Where
or
where do you stand with God?
all right, interesting game to play. I don't believe that there's, I think we've talked about, but I've read the entire book, the entire Bible, beginning to end. It's quite boring. They really need a good editor, to be honest. But if there's any kind of a higher power of any sort, it's some sort of I don't think necessarily we're gone after we die. I think there's a lot of evidence, even scientific now, suggesting that consciousness kind of does continue to exist in some way. So it's funny. This is usually my last question is usually about the nature of death and whatever it is. But if you're talking about God, you're kind of talking about death in the same thing, vis-a-vis. So yeah, I don't think that there's a man in the sky with a beard. But I think that there is something beyond us and beyond our scientific knowledge that we don't understand, not necessarily that controls everything, but that exists and that we don't yet understand. And perhaps we do get to understand that after our physical bodies have shat the bed.
Yeah, well,
literally,
the
physically.
the field will look different. What is the compelling evidence that you've heard recently, or like scientific or whatever, about consciousness continuing after death? Like, what do you think of when you're referring to that?
I mean, I'm just thinking. I mean, there's been quite a few articles that have come out that have established that consciousness is like a separate energy outside of our bodies in a way. I'm not going to give it. I'm not a scientist, so I'm not going to give it the. And quite frankly, I probably skimmed it. So but the impression I got, there's been quite a few that have kind of suggested that there's more to consciousness than we understand, and that consciousness is something beyond our physical beings.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And then you hear the stories of people like having near-death experiences, and like there's some uncanny ones that are like, whoa, how did you, maybe they're just bullshit, but like I've heard enough where I'm like, oh, that's hard to dismiss. So, or maybe it's just my mind looking for something to grab onto.
Yeah, there's something about like there's some study where, when you first start to learn about something, you feel like you're an expert on it, and then the more that you learn, you start to realize like, oh wow, I don't know shit. And then it takes a while for you to get back up to like, yeah, I got like a handle on this.
Right.
That I feel like, yeah, right, the brain, consciousness, these are all things that we're only kind of skimming the surface of understanding.
Yeah, but I
Um,
do think it's interesting that we're finally doing it, and the things that we're slowly figuring out. Like, I think there's a lot of interesting, there's a lot of horrible things going on in the world, but like, we're using AI to like translate whale talk. So like, hey, I'll take half and half, right? I want to talk to whales.
Yeah. I think the God thing is just, it's a really hard question to answer. I think it's pretty kind of boring because, well, what are we talking about? It's a little like what we talk about when we talk about, whatever. It's love, or, I think there's a mysteriousness to, there are things that are mysteries, and how we face those things or don't face those things, how we orient to them, is all a little confusing. But again, like the kid thing, the idea of having kids, like that changes your God in a way. Like you remember The Road, the Cormac McCarthy novel, right? Like
Yeah,
that.
never read it, but yeah.
Okay, so the kid in that is there's very, blatant language where he refers to the kid as his God, like whatever you're oriented to, whatever your ideals are, and how aware of those you are is not necessarily clear either. Some more than others, but the kid thing changes your orientation to a lot of these things.
It's interesting that oftentimes the mythology does paint the deity as a younger person. Like even like Dune as well has also got a young Messiah character to a degree. And I'm trying to think of something else.
Well, you think of the Christ story and the importance of the birth and the idea of the possibility of, you
Right.
know,
Right.
the future starts to include this idea of the eternal a little bit, you know.
I saw the second biggest Christian cross in the United States when I was on my road trip in Effingham, Effingham,
The
Illinois.
the second biggest.
Second
How
biggest.
big? How
Second
big
biggest.
was the second biggest?
Just high enough so they didn't have to put blinking red lights on it for FAA regulations. And that's what they told me with a straight face. And I was like, oh, all right, that's great. That's good.
What a
I mean, it was
fantastic
big.
thing.
It was big. I'm not sure what Jesus would think. Like, this is my whole thought all the time. And like, what would, if Jesus came back, what would he think of all this? I mean, went to Bogota, saw brutalized statues of Jesus being whipped to death. And it's like, why? I wouldn't want to see any of that. I
No,
wouldn't.
these are internal fantasies that are getting memorialized here.
It's very strange. Like, I mean, if you came back and you saw, you're like, there's a pit, you got things of me on the cross dying in your that's how you're worshiping. Like, I'd be like, what? I don't know. My brain would explode a little bit, but it was a big cross. It was pretty kick ass, bro. Pretty kick ass.
Here's the thing. If we're gonna circle this religion thing, here's my latest sort of thing that was bothering me.
All right.
You know, after Charlie Kirk's passing, Charlie Kirk, who was like a blip on my radar, I barely knew who this guy even was.
Right.
I was surprised when I was seeing headlines like that he was a huge voice in the Conservative Party, and I was like, oh wow, because everything that I like, the guy is obviously saying things that are not.
Yeah. So this is now the third time that the conversation has been interrupted, and this is the last time. So you can rest easy on that, and you can now enjoy the rest of the conversation without having to worry that it will get interrupted again. We now return to your regularly scheduled podcast.
Holy fuck.
Did your computer just crash or what happened?
My screen was down, and then I was in the middle of talking, and then I
Yeah.
look and my screen is black. I'm like, okay, don't tell me this has gone down. And then I open it up and it said your recording has stopped. Everyone else is still being recording. So I don't know why. I just reset my computer to not go to sleep on this.
I don't know what's going on.
I feel like I'm the one that looks stupid here.
Don't do that. I'm editing that out. I'm just making it look to Riverside side. By the way, like there's no.
But you've
like,
turned down more than one job from me because the editing requirement is too big. And now here I am on your podcast doing an episode in which I'm making your job too difficult. It's just, this is all
It is a
too
theme. It is a
resonant
bit-
for me.
it is a
It's a
strange
theme. It's
theme,
like,
isn't it?
no,
Yeah,
Weber,
it's
you're
funny.
too much work. You're too much work, Weber.
I never, if it makes you feel any better, I've never thought of you as a person who's too much work. So none of the things that are sticking with you are sticking with me.
Do you want to talk about AI real fast?
Sure. What kind of AI do you want to talk? Which part of AI?
Well, the thing to me that's so frustrating about this AI conversation is this argument that it's going to help with all of these things that are like remedial or boring or like all of the things that you don't want to have to deal with, like it will deal with. And so then you have the time in order to do the things that you want to do. But that's not how creativity works. Like you have to be bored. It's in order to get there. It's those boring remedial tasks that are the valuable ones. So that's my backward take on what we're touting as the value of AI. I think is entirely wrong. Like, oh, then we won't have to do these sort of dumb jobs. It's like, well, what are people going to do if not dumb jobs?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I feel like I have a couple of thoughts on that. One thought is that I don't think a lot of people really know what they want to do. So I think because of jobs, so like the job kind of is like, oh, I can just lean on the job. And so I don't have to ever think about given the time, what I would do. And I think that's a more profound issue but with the AI thing.
But you're doing something in a job.
Sure, but it's not a thing that you necessarily want to do. You're being forced to do it.
Doesn't matter.
You need
Doesn't
money.
matter.
Right.
Who's to say that you know what you want?
Okay, let's say with this podcast, though. So the podcast, I'm not getting paid for it. I mean, not really. I'm spending a lot of time editing these things and yada, yada, yada. But like, I'm also using AI to do some of the shit that's like, come up with some fucking names for promos. Give me some thumbnail or ideas for the description of a promo for Instagram.
I should clarify. My problem with AI is not AI itself. My problem is with the conversation around it and what we're touting as its value.
I agree with that because the value is going to be in like inventing new drugs and being able to talk to whales.
The whales.
What's the first question you'd ask a whale?
Um,
Got to be good.
Smash or pass?
Wow. Wasn't expecting that.
That was.
I would ask it something like, what's it like to live in the ocean?
There's a woman I work with who, when the new GM came on and we were going around the circle, said she didn't say it, but afterwards she was like, "Could you imagine if I had said?" And then she said that, and that was just one of the funniest things that I.
I don't think that the whale would necessarily understand that smash or pass.
What would you ask a whale? Yeah, I just want to. I want to. How does a whale think? How does a
Right. What do you
whale?
think of humans? What do you think of humans? You like us?
Do you like? What is it? What do you like?
Right. Do you have feelings of like? I mean, I think they've pretty much established that dolphins definitely have like friends and they rape and stuff. So they're
Oh my God.
they do. Have you gone on YouTube? You can watch videos of dolphin rape. Yeah.
That's the spectrum. There's friendship and there's rape.
Oh no. I mean, I was doing the edges so that you could fill in the rest in between. You can they sing songs together and stuff and whatever.
What have we deciphered so far about whale talk?
I
What
don't
is
I
it
don't
like?
I don't know. I just
I'm over here, follow danger there. What is?
honestly just read a headline like 3 months
Okay.
ago and I was like, oh, I like that. That's great.
You know why I deleted the social medias off of my phone?
I don't.
It's the scroll. It's the scroll itself. It's not just like the information, but the act of the scroll is something that I think is not good for me.
Oh, I mean, none of it's good for you. You think about how these tech executives who make these products, they don't let their kids use these fucking things. So, I mean, what does that tell you about
Sure.
everything?
Again,
Right.
kids, right? That reorients you.
Right. And also the idea that like the winners in this whole mess of America, morass, whatever, are really the media companies and the politicians. Because like the media companies are raking in money right now. When Charlie Kirk dies and everybody goes on the internet and posts about it and have all these theories and says blah blah blah. Oh, ching 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 ching. Twitter had more new downloads in the week that Charlie Kirk died than ever before.
Oh wow.
Cha-ching, cha-ching.
I waited a party at Chisiamo. There was a bunch of these media companies, like people from them. I don't know, not like tops, but like
Sure,
people that
but
work
still.
in the
Yeah.
whatever departments. And it was from all over. It was like they were from TikTok, from YouTube, from from fucking Facebook, from and other all
Right.
sorts of media companies. There was maybe 40 of them. And they had a conversation. They talked the whole meal. They talked like round table talk. One guy was kind of up, standing around, sort of emceeing the thing. And half of the things that were being said were interesting, and half of what was being said was some of the dumbest shit I've ever heard. Just with things that they were saying that they think or they believe, or like ways that they were judging people. I was like, are you 12? How is this being? Uh, it blew my mind. It blew my mind. Some of the dumb things that were being said
Do you remember any of the dumb things?
about like addiction, about like attention spans, about uh the use of screens in society, about one guy said, which I think I agree with. One of the I don't know if it's smarter or not, but like one of the things that was said was that he doesn't think that AI will ever be able to replicate sort of human creativity in the same way. That like if you have say 100 videos on Facebook about where to go when you visit this country and what restaurants to go to or whatever, like little tour guidey things, and
Yeah.
one of them is Anthony Bourdain. That, according to him, not because of Anthony Bourdain's fame, but sort of in a vacuum, that one would still end up winning out because Anthony Bourdain is a personality, right? Not just a personality that we know, but even in a vacuum. Well, this is the thing with podcasts now, right? Like a lot of these podcast people that have been doing this, maybe got in sort of at the beginning, are now saying, well, I don't recognize the landscape at all. Like I would, if I had to start a podcast today, I would have no idea how to navigate through the morass and arrive at
Right.
anything that is worth,
Right. I wonder though, like the creativity question is one that I've talked about a lot, and I kind of find it fascinating in that Like, because right now when you try to get AI to be creative, it'll be creative to a degree. Like you can kind of tell there's a distance, there's a lack of, not a humanness to it, perhaps. But who knows in 20 years? Like I always had this argument that if we start making AI movies entirely, they aren't going to be good because they're going to lack the human element. But I've started to think that that's probably not true anymore. And
Yeah, maybe.
that's
I
concerning
mean,
a little
but
bit.
also it depends. It's individual. Like I came to the realization this year. This is going to sound really eye rolly, but it's kind of true. I would rather be reading a novel than watching a movie or a television show.
Well, that's just wonderful for you, Nick. That's just
But it's true
somebody
though.
who's
Like
reading books. No,
it's
it's great.
genuinely true. So I like where my focus is, where my attention is, what I find interesting, what captivates me, what makes me feel healthy and whatever. But is different than other people, you know.
Sure.
So I don't understand. I don't understand the whole Marvel thing. You know,
No, I
like
don't. I can't do with
I
any
put
of
on
that. No.
Superman the other day because it's hard for me not to watch a Superman or a Batman movie when it comes out.
Right.
And I was, I got 20 minutes in and I realized like I don't know why I'm watching this. Like this is yet to capture my attention at all.
Yeah, I
You
haven't
know.
seen it, so I don't watch any of the superhero movies. They all seem like they're idiotic. That's the word I'd use. Fucking completely idiotic. Um, but I wonder if AI will ever be able to tape a banana to a wall, right? Uh, will ever understand that level of weird art, or will it just be like Van Gogh?
I guess at this point, like in my week, I don't know that I care. Like I don't know that that's an interesting question to me. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, sure, sure. What do you want to talk about? What's an interesting question?
No. I don't. I don't mean to say that it's. I just as I think about it right now, I'm like, I care like whether AI can again like when I have time off, I just want to spend it with like with my kids or I don't know why I keep getting hung up on the kids thing, but like again, it
No, I
just
get it.
changes things,
You're swamped in kids right now, and I get it. I totally get it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm interested in it in as much as these technologies are going to change the world in a profound way in the next 20 years. And like conject and hypothesizing about it is interesting to me. That's kind of it. Also, I use these things a lot. Like I play with them a lot. So because I don't have kids. So
I have a
um
question for you.
yeah.
So like after the Trump Tylenol thing, there was one of the podcasts that I have on my phone that I'll look at occasionally that I started looking at during I think the 2020 election was the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation's Front Burner podcast. It's like so it's out
Okay.
of Canada, so it's something that's at
Right.
least a little bit outside of the bubble of our culture wars,
Right. Right.
at least
Right.
a little bit, right?
Right.
And
Right.
so I listened to their episode in response to that, in response to vaccines, in response to autism, in response to Tylenol.
Tylenol. Yeah.
And for me, it was kind of comforting to listen to get back to somebody that had a stronger understanding of the subject at hand and where we are and what our relationship to it is. And do you think that like as you take in more facts, as you get a greater understanding of the landscape, on the whole, that sort of despair that sort of counteracts fear and impulsive actions and conclusions? Or would you say that there are some topics that are just sort of existentially problematic and that you kind of just need to avoid? Like if you go really down the hole on, say, nuclear weapons or on, climate change for some people would be another big one. Is it not that, right? Is it the kind of thing that causes more anxiety because its essence is ultimately something that's too um dangerous and too in your face, as opposed to like the autism thing? Like the more that you hear people talk about it, the more you're like, yeah, bravo humanity, like we got a handle on this, we're doing everything that we can in order to confront the problem. Aren't people fucking awesome? Like like that was kind of the feeling that I had after listening to sane people respond to what that press conference was.
Right. Right. I mean, I don't get too. I mean, I do my best not to get anxious or upset or really any of these things about the things that are going on in the world. Like, I mean, perhaps that sounds impossible. I don't know. But I think the working in politics for so long, it's given me like a weird distance from it. So that, and I really don't want to give any, like, I find it interesting, right? I find this political moment we're living in, and I know you're not just talking about politics, but this is where my brain went.
Yeah.
I find this political moment like interesting for sure, like fascinating, like unprecedented, I always say. But like, in terms of me spending time being worried or anxious or angry about it, because it hasn't really affected me that much yet, to be honest, this any of his policies they will. I'm just saying that my anxiety and my fear and my anger about these issues aren't going to make a goddamn bit of difference. So like, why am I sitting here expelling these emotions that are just going nowhere and are probably in a way like them winning, right?
Well,
So
dealing with those emotions is kind of a separate thing, right?
yeah,
Like how to manage one's anxiety and all of this and its relationship to information that's coming in is kind of its own.
right, but it's a TV show now, though. I mean, that's the thing. It's like your anxiety is really largely based, as you said earlier in the conversation. I don't know if we caught that part, but like how much of this stuff is actually real, right? What Trump is saying.
The smart response to that is why would you listen to anything that Trump says? Because you know that, like, why are we mining Trump's speech for what's true or not? Like that seems like a fool's errand.
Right.
Like, why don't we just find somebody that actually is more trustworthy and then listen to what they say? Well, I guess the answer is that because he's the leader of the free world, quote
Right, right. He's the
unquote.
president of the United States. So
You know,
wah, wah, wah. Um, and honestly, Trump, like, if you can separate yourself from it, Trump's a funny motherfucking president. Like, he's the funniest
I had
president.
this conversation with Sarah
He's
yesterday. I was
fucking
like,
hilarious.
you know, I kind of I see the guy's charm, and she just about spit up her lunch. I mean, she was, I get why that's a very repulsive thing to say to people. That, but it's also stupid not to acknowledge. When he's at the bottom of the staircase and the staircase stops at the UN and Melania goes up and he
Yeah.
looks back behind him like, what the fuck's going on? And then he just kind of points up and starts, what? That shit was funny. The shit was
I
funny.
mean, yeah, that's fun. I mean, there's a lot of his. He used to have. When I used to watch all these speeches, he had like, he was like a stand-up comic with these speeches he would do.
There's a reason everybody impersonates the guy,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would watch him as he would hone a bit. Like watch from different speech to different speech. He would hone a
Right.
bit. Like the one he did, the one about the water pressure, which was a great bit. He'd talk about how he has to flush the toilet like 10 times to get to get it to flush, and wash his hands for 20 minutes, and then he changed it to, he added something about his hair, and it's like a stand-up comic. He's very good at that.
I've always liked the argument too with all of these folks that these speeches, they are comedians in the fact that, like, if it doesn't resonate, you're not going to keep saying it, right? That this is a good way of looking at even Hitler's rise. Is
Right.
like everything that he's saying. It's not like he forced that on people. If the crowd wasn't responding, he wouldn't have said it.
Right.
He was accessing fears and ignorance and unsurety in people and giving it a voice and blah blah blah. So, like, yeah, again, Trump, if it wasn't resonating, he wouldn't say it. And in fact, he does. That's why he changes what he says all the time.
Oh yeah, it doesn't matter. He can say whatever he wants and get away with it because he can just pretend he didn't say it in the first place.
Exactly. Yeah. Again, I think using Trump for is this true or is this not? It's just a fool's errand. There's no point in.
I think using any politician for is this true or is this not is a fool's errand. To be
Fair. Yeah.
There was a documentary that came out. I forget the name of it. It's on YouTube, but it was basically going into, and I thought it was fascinating. It was going into the rise of like Joe Rogan and that circle of comics, and how at first Joe Rogan was kind of a counterculture icon because he was
Right.
like promoting marijuana and
Fight guy
mushrooms and all
and-
that. And then he shifted, and now he's being embraced by the right wing, as is a large wing of comedy. And like when you talked about Trump being funny, and then Hitler, I don't know how funny Hitler was. I
Or
heard he
Tim
was a real-
Dillon too, right?
I mean, Tim Dillon is an interesting one because he kind of walks the line, and he's actually, and maybe it's just because I still like Tim Dillon, and I don't want to let go of that one. He's a very, what is the word when you don't care about it? And nihilism. It's all nihilism for him. Like ultimately, whatever argument that you might have seems to just, if he doesn't want to engage with the argument, he'll just go nihilistic and be like, it doesn't fucking matter. I'm going to get my fucking money. I don't care.
He says that, but I think that's also, again, he says it because it works as a bit. and because it's funny. I don't. That's the thing with comedy, right? Like that's why so many people hate Seinfeld or think that's well. There's many reasons why people don't like Seinfeld, but one of the reasons I think is that he just holds he holds comedy to too high of a standard. That everything is a bit, and if it's it's kind of like the politicians' use of facts in the same way. Like, why are we you in the same way that we wouldn't want to parse out what's true and what's not that a politician says. Why are we parsing out what is moral or not in what Seinfeld says? Because everything that he's saying is just so joke oriented. Comedy's the end all be all, and he'll say that himself again and again and again. Is this a thing? Is this not? That's all that matters, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas other people that are in his circle that he taught, like someone like Letterman is especially in his later life, has a different sort of struggle. Again, he had kids. Seinfeld had kids. Seemed to miss that part, I guess.
Right. Seinfeld, yeah, isn't he outspoken with the Israel thing now these days too? Which is
Well, and I've heard him say things like, "Why do we care about something that's happening thousands of miles away?" I've heard him say disparaging things about the Gaza situation, or things that just he's made light of people's concerns in ways that are gross,
yeah. Tone deaf, if you will.
tone
But
deaf. Yeah.
everybody's got an agenda. So, yeah, it's a tough world because everybody wants to be like outrage sells, right? So it's just an outrage machine anymore. This media,
I think
and
that's
the social
another
media.
reason why I took them off my phone. It was
Right,
like,
which is why I I mean, there's certainly stuff when I'm looking at Instagram that there's like, non-outrage based stuff. I'll find like I think some music stuff on there, whatever. But like, when you start getting into anything political at all, it just becomes about the outrage.
but in my defense about taking stuff off my phone, even if it's stuff that's not outrage, it still is being fed to you in a scroll. It still is this sort of like, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? Anticipation. It's hijacking your reward system.
Oh yeah, it's crack. It's like dopamine. Yeah, it's really bad. I mean, but genius also in its own way because that's why it's
Yeah, it's right. Like the atom bomb is genius. You know what I mean? But it's
right,
still a little
right.
stupid here.
Right. But I mean, it's genius also in the way that the people, the powers that be, who are like making no mistake about it, how many of the media executives were at the inauguration are arguably, happier when we are all sitting there slaves to our phone because we are not and hating each other and yelling at each other because we are not pointing the finger where the finger should be pointed, which is at the politicians and the media companies that are just all profiting and are just scooping up money left and right with all this division. It's real bad, and I don't know how to fix it because at what point do the algorithms stop profitizing? Because outrage is money, so you have to tweak the algorithm. It has to be legislation, which I don't know. I'm worried.
It also strikes me as like that's part of the truth behind what resonates with Trump's response to Kimmel's monologue when he's like, Kimmel's dead. Kimmel's like a wash up. You suck. You have no talent. Like, none of that's true. But what is true is that the networks have an average viewership of like people nearly 70 years old.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
they only exist for us as sound bites on our Instagrams or as YouTube clips. So I mean,
Right.
it also as an actor for me makes me like the network television show used to be the thing, as far as
Sure.
making money.
Sure.
And now I just don't even know.
No, I mean that whole thing is dying. Like, I mean, look, Conan went into podcasting and is making a fortune, from what I understand, and
He's
like that's
making a
probably
fortune?
where. Oh, he's doing very well. He's got a whole like a whole network now of different podcasters on his thing. I'm sure he's making a ton of money.
It's what like Gladwell does too, right? Doesn't Malcolm Gladwell like
A
run
lot of them are
production
doing that,
company?
and like Stephen
Yeah.
Colbert, the reason that show got canceled, I don't think it was because of Trump. I mean, they argued it was, but really, the amount of money they were spending on that show was absurd. Like, it was costing that company a fortune, and frankly, Stephen Colbert's just going to go to YouTube, start another show with 1/10 of the staff, and it'll be just as good.
What do you think happened to that guy? Because like I had this conversation with somebody the other day. Like he used to be the most funny sort of. He was way funnier than fucking Stewart was.
Edgy.
And he came out of that and he was doing really edgy, like hilarious
Right.
stuff. And then what happened?
I think that he got a show on a major network that, is beholden to certain advertisers and so forth. And so he can, Remember how uncomfortable he got when Jon Stewart came on and suggested made jokes about how COVID probably came from China because there's a lab there called the coronavirus, lab, and he got extremely uncomfortable and was trying to silence him. Yeah, yeah,
I don't remember that.
yeah. That was a wacky one. But yeah, I
Interesting.
mean, that was the only clip you ever really need to
So
see.
in that sense, he sucks. Like he's the one that lost that gig he lost his gig and his voice long before they could cancel him.
Yeah, that's kind of the way that I felt about it. And he wasn't even being that hard on Trump. I mean, every goddamn comic is making. I mean, except for the ones on the right, but there's jokes about Trump on late night TV. This is not a new thing. I wonder what the people who made Tylenol did to Donald Trump to piss him off, because that's all I can think of with the Tylenol thing is like, it's just a very random, like, I did not see, if there's a bingo card for things Trump would do or say or anything, I don't think anybody would have had, telling people not to take Tylenol. Like, it just, that wasn't even mentioned once in his whole, but I'm for it. God damn it.
Well, you remember when RFK earlier in the year was like, by September, we're going to diagnose where autism is coming from by
Oh, I see.
September.
Tylenol. All right. That's why
I
then.
mean,
All
well,
right.
the one thing you got to give it to him is, well, at least he's sticking to his timeline, even if what he's saying is absolute horseshit. Like,
Yeah. You want to talk about your experience on Orange is the New Black?
yeah, I wish I was better on it.
You don't think you were good? You look back and
I
you
don't
think
think I
you're
was
not.
very good. No, I had some
Oh,
funny moments, but
did you think that was the case at the time, or is that a looking back thing?
no, that's a looking back thing. I think it's a problem with audition. It's the problem with auditioning. I've done it so many times and then not gotten the gig that I think it affects a little bit how the work is when I do get the gig. And I feel like I was always just trying to. I didn't feel free. Maybe is a good way of putting it. Like I didn't feel like I really owned that role or was doing things that really I wanted to do. I don't know that I took the time to think about what I really wanted to do. I was still just thinking about, well, what am I supposed to do? You know what I mean?
Right. But that's a natural response to getting. I mean, this was your first big role in a big series that was extremely popular at the time. So I think a
The first
natural response.
recurring role, yeah.
Sure, right, exactly. So I feel like the natural response is to be like, what am I supposed to do? And then looking back, it's very easy to be like, well, I should have done this, but you can't, like, if you're still doing that on your fourth or fifth, recurring role, then it's like, oh, okay. But your first
Totally.
one, it's like hard to, how do you find that to be in the moment, right?
Yeah, I
Enough
don't
to,
know that I'll ever get really good at it because I don't know that I'll ever do it frequently enough in order to get really good at it. I mean, maybe I'll get really good at auditioning.
yeah, you never know. You never know. I mean, with that,
Like
yeah,
I'll bet you I'll bet you, well, not even I'll bet, like it's true. Like all of the interesting stuff that I've done is on tape somewhere, and only a couple people have seen it, and they saw it, and they might have thought that it was the most interesting thing that they've seen, but unfortunately, their nephew, whatever, or this other person, whatever, like it's all so political
oh
that
yeah, yeah.
I
It's all,
not
yeah.
that cream doesn't rise, but again, there's just no knowing. And there's no gauge when there's no feedback, so there's no ability to respond. Yeah, I don't know. I don't look back at Orange as like, wow, that was really a lot of fun, or wow, that was me doing it. Like it just kind of makes me, I don't know, sad, I guess, a little bit.
But do you think it's partially because you haven't gotten a ton of work since then, so it's like it's easy to now go back and criticize that thing because that's the
Because there've
only
been no things since.
right.
Yeah, I mean, I did an episode of New Amsterdam after that I was more proud of, I think, than
Right.
what I've done on Orange.
All
But
right.
since then too, I've seen that and I'm able to find it unwatchable
Right. I mean, it's human nature.
as
It's
well.
hard to look back on your old work and say I have the same kind of a thing.
I prefer not to look back on it, I guess. You know what I mean?
Right. There's no good can come from that, really.
Yeah, how we like memorialize things or how we make things of import in our lives. Like there's the ability to show up in the moment, but then there's also, again, this changes once you have kids, is how you sort of archive or save things or make things important. Like when they're kids and they're coming home from school and like every day is filled with so like my kid draws a lot. Like it's one of his favorite things to do. He finds it
Right.
calming, finds it whatever is creative, and but there are just papers with drawings everywhere.
Right.
And it's like,
Right.
well, how
Right.
do you archive this? How do you like what that question I think is a good one and is a very human one. And with Orange, I think I don't think about it very much because it kind of was the thing that was the most out of my hands. Like there was a whole, I think there was a huge show.
Yeah.
So it's there, it's not going anywhere. You know what I mean? Like, what do I need to do in order to commemorate it? Like, whereas, my band or things that I write for other people are like The Future Forest, right? That huge pandemic book that I wrote, all of these things that aren't archived on Netflix, I think a little bit more. I guess they occupy more space in my mind because they require more of my efforts to preserve them.
Right. 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 And something about also like not getting paid for a thing is also, money changes the equation.
I started like doing this thing with my friends in California for their birthdays where I would write them. First, I was just writing like little poems, and then they got longer and longer, and then they became more like they've morphed into these recordings that I'll make that are sometimes songs, sometimes they're like mostly raps, like really ridiculous, uh, lengthy, of sort of avant-garde raps.
All right.
And they've become really enjoyable for me to make, but also it's strange how just to sort of clock what I expect as far as a response and also what I get as far as a response. Like if I'll send it, like I'll notice like, oh, these two guys, they didn't like laugh, respond, they didn't hit the ha ha emoji back, or like,
Yep.
oh, they didn't comment or anything. Like one guy or the biggest one was my manager for his 50th birthday. I had just kind of started to do this and I was like, do I do this for him? He's not really like an old friend like all these people from California are. I don't know that he really deserves this. Like that his friendship with me really fits in the same world. But I was like, fuck it, I'll do it. And so I did it for him. And it was, again, I do it during the course of a day. So I let it entirely occupy me for a full day. But by the time that day's over, I have to make a recording and send it off and then let it go. And so I did this for him. And it's like 2, 3 minutes long, this big rap about him for his 50th birthday. And he didn't say anything, didn't
Yep.
respond at all. And I was so fucking mad. I was so fucking mad. I even later brought it up at one point. I was like, did you like get that? Like blah, blah, blah. Like, did you receive it even? He was like, oh, yeah. And he just sort of like blew it off like, yeah, no, I got it. And I was like, well, why wouldn't you say, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like this,
No, I totally
this
right.
gift giving thing is a strange, our relationship to our creative stuff. So this is like things that I'm blatantly not doing for pay. There's no pay coming,
Right.
but still there's an expectation of some kind of acknowledgement of,
People don't, I think some people don't know how to respond to artistic expression. Um, I think that that's a part of it, maybe.
is it because it's too intimate?
Possibly, yeah. I think there's probably levels there. But then again, I have like people like, oh, I made a video, just a random. I was out camping in the woods. I made this video of like the stars, these time lapses. It's very cool. I'm very proud of it. It was the first
Yeah.
creative thing I'd done in a long time, and I sent it out to a bunch of people, and like 90% of them, no response at all.
Yeah.
Right. Nothing. So like, and it's the same. It reminds me of like adults because it's like the same thing with adults. I thought the series that you were in, I thought it was very good. I still do, but it didn't do well. It got into a festival or two, but it didn't do as well as we were expecting or hoping. And then I realized, well, the joy has to come from
All
the
right.
thing.
So maybe this is it. Maybe the money is the thing that we can accept as the substitute for that because right, in other words, like we like to say like we do this for the money. No, what we really do it for is the emotional recognition, the connection that comes from somebody else recognizing it and kind of honoring it. But we'll accept the money. We're kind of whores in this way, right? Like the money is the substitute for the connection.
Right. But did your boss give you a raise after you sent that to him?
No, he's my man. He's just an agent. All he can do is submit me, a manager.
Right. So he couldn't give you any more money. Yeah. Yeah. So you got neither.
I'm just saying, you know what I mean? Like maybe we say, oh, what we judge the success on whether or not, you book the audition, whether or not the job gets how much the job gets paid, how much it gets out there, how many people see it. But maybe all that is just a substitution for the more painful experience, which is that of somebody not caring or somebody
Right.
not,
Love me. Right.
yeah, love me, right.
Right. The fundamental. Right.
Well, gift giving is one of the love languages. As kind of silly as that sounds,
No, absolutely.
it's
Yeah.
true, right?
Yeah.
How you give and how you receive a gift is an expression of love.
Yeah. I mean, I turned 50, about 2 years ago, and I would have responded to your rap, but I didn't actually get one, so I had nothing to respond to.
I can send you my managers. I can send you the one that
I
I
don't
make
want
for
your
my
fucking
manager.
sloppy seconds. Fucking fuck that shit.
Well, one of my friends,
Send the managers. I'll put it on the podcast if you want me to. If you let me, I'll put it on the podcast.
it's going to be offensive. That's the only thing.
Oh, that's
Like
fine. I don't
they
mind.
are offensive. They're not PC.
No, and I wouldn't play the whole thing. I would just play part of it. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'll send it to you.
Yeah, send it to me. I'll definitely use it.
It climax maximum, climax maximum, climax maximum. I got to write his birthday song, but what if I say something wrong? He won't give me a thumbs up. He won't cup my ego ball.
So my friends that I do this for, there's a group of like 12 of them. And after this last one, somebody responded with like, "Well, we finally got like a rap for everybody, like blah blah blah. You can finally put a bow on the project." And but all I heard with that response was like, "Can you please stop doing these? I don't want to take the time to listen to them.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you don't, you know."
That's probably what that he was saying, actually. Yeah. I mean, I love it, Nick. I love it. I'm feeling disappointed because I never got one, but it's fine. I am. I'm not gonna lie. But also, you gotta pick your audience, I think, with a
Well,
thing like that.
part of the reason why I limited it to that group, there was a couple that I did outside of it, but for the most part, I limited it to that group because it's a text thread of 12 guys, so it is a bit of an audience, and the inside jokes can sort of be enjoyed by everybody.
Right.
Whereas if it's just for you, then there isn't a crowd there. It's a little more,
Right.
yeah.
I get it. No, I mean, no, it's fine. But I'm just saying that, like, there's I guess an artist's way of looking at the world or a creative's way of looking at the world. And a lot of times it seems to be at odds in a lot of ways with the way that other like people look at the world and the other way. I just, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, we'll say more.
There's not much else to say aside from, like, even when I moved to Columbus from New York, and I mentioned this in another podcast, but like the amount of people that are here that like get like that my filmmaking and the art stuff and all that stuff, like, it's not very many, right?
Does this overlap with the way that religion kind of functions for people as far as things like what we would say is like, oh, indoctrination or whatever, but the way in which like that they're just our mutual friend Michael at one point I think framed it by saying there are people who understand metaphor and people that don't.
Right. Irony too. Yeah.
Like people that can read the Bible in a sort of meta way, and then people that can't, the people that just have to believe that Christ is coming again literally, and that the rapture is like a thing.
It was yesterday. It's supposed to be yesterday, I read.
I saw that. I was mid shift when the rumor started to spread, because I was never on TikTok, but I'm
Right.
I cannot open any sort of social media on my phone anymore. So
There was a video I saw on Instagram where a guy was like made like a fake Jesus and got all these and got all these helium balloons and was going to try to make it look like Jesus was floating above, like going up in the rapture above his house. But the Jesus was too heavy, so they couldn't get enough balloons. It's the up, it's the up dilemma. Which,
yeah.
Which, how many balloons would you need?
Jesus was too heavy.
Yeah. Which is it brings me back to the giant cross. That would be where that, mega Jesus on the giant cross. All right, I'm going to wrap this one up because I have already asked
too
you the
much.
question. Well,
Yeah.
I have no idea how much I have at this point. I really don't. But I think ending on a Jesus being too heavy is good. I have no idea how much content I have because I don't know what's uploaded and what hasn't. So we'll find out. We'll see what I can turn it into. Again, some more work. Now that you've said that, Nick, I'm not going to be able to forget the thing about the workload thing.
That I'm a burden.
Yeah, it never occurred to me once until you brought that up. And now, when I'm editing this podcast, I'm just going to be thinking, oh, fucking Nick, man. God damn it. Fucking. I won't be thinking that.
This relationship is not worth the birthday song that I didn't receive.
I wouldn't say that. No. Usually at the very end, I ask people what they think happens when we die, but I think we've already pretty much hit on that one, so no need for that.
Yeah, I mean, my answer to it would be that I just doesn't occupy my mind quite as much as maybe it would if I didn't have kids.
Right. I think that's probably going to be the name of the podcast. It'll be something kids, if something kids or just kids, maybe kids. Anyway, anything else you'd like to do? Have anything you want to promote or share or say or anything like that before we conclude this?
You know, you know,
NickCaseyMusic.com. That's one you should promote. Your band. We didn't get a chance to talk about that.
yeah, if the band was active, I mean, yeah, you can listen to Nick Casey music. Nick Casey, one word.
There's a great back catalog. You got to go dig into the old stuff. Yeah. What's that one song that I always like with the piano riff?
Yeah, you like
Dun, 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 dun.
halfway set. No, it's
on
yeah, it's
Nothing
on
Wrong
the
with Love.
it's on that first record.
Yeah, maybe I'll use that in this episode somewhere too. What is the fucking name of that song?
Yeah,
Always or
I
Never,
don't
something like
remember.
that. Always or Never or something.
We might be working on a musical,
Oh, that's fun.
maybe.
About something in particular, or like somebody hired you to do it, or
No, we're just talking about it and getting some ideas going.
oh, that's fun.
It's called Natural Law.
That's the one. Natural
Yeah.
Law. That's the run. That's the cue into the song.
The QAnon into the song.
Oy vey. I wonder if they're still around. That's a whole nother wormhole. Anyway, Nick, thanks so much for coming on the podcast. I appreciate it. In spite of the technical issues we had, it was good to talk and catch up.
Yeah, congrats on doing it, man.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate it. And yeah, I'll let you know when it comes out. And we should also catch up again soon.
Of course.
Somewhere because I didn't even know you had a fucking kid. So congrats on the kid.
Yeah. Second
Yeah.
kid, he's here.
Yeah. Any more? No more? Last one?
That's it. Oh, that is this. The second one was was a whole ordeal. So
I
that's
see.
it.
Yeah.
That's
All right.
it.
Well, make sure you get your certificate from Donald Trump. I would write them a letter or something just so you get that certificate
I want the money.
and the money. But signed by Donald Trump, his own handwriting. Anyway, man, love you, my friend. Good talking to you. Take care of yourself.
Love you too, Jeff. What if Jeff?
It's just Jeff. Yeah. Love you, buddy. Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And that was Nick Weber. And the song you're hearing underneath me right now is the instrumental version of Nick Casey's song, Natural Law, which is also on their first album, which will be in the show notes. I hope you enjoyed listening to that conversation as much as I enjoyed having it, in spite of the technical snafus. You can find Nick on Instagram at Wuckald. That's Wuckald. Wuckald. I should have asked him what that means. I always wondered. Wuckald. You can also learn about his band and hear some of their music at nickcaseymusic.com. You can follow the podcast on Instagram at 1FJeffPod. And you can and should email the podcast with your thoughts, queries, suggestions, complaints at 1FJeffPod@gmail.com. And yes, I still do have a Patreon page. And yes, there are still new subscribers coming in. So if you enjoyed this episode and would like to support the podcast, go to patreon.com/1FJeff and donate as little as $5 a month. And you'll get some extra content as well. I just put some pictures on there from my recent Colorado trip. And then before that, I think I put a bonus episode on there that normal listeners who are not Patreon subscribers cannot hear. So if that appeals to you in any way, patreon.com/1FJeff. Thank you to Nick for taking time out of your busy, child-filled day to record this. I really enjoyed it. And thank you to you for taking time out of your day to listen to it. I really appreciate it. Once again, and only because I can't get it out of my head, I'm going to leave you with this Buddhist meditation I heard on a podcast several months ago. I'm of the nature to grow sick. I'm of the nature to grow old. I'm of the nature to lose the people that I love. I'm of the nature to die. How then shall I live? I'll see you next week.
Very good, Jeffrey.